Bunch of knuckleheads. Speaking of a bunch of knuckleheads and doing knucklehead things, a school board, folks, in North Dakota has stopped saying the Pledge of Allegiance before meetings, claiming that the mention of the word God runs contrary to the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then people can't fathom why there is a massive tear in our social fabric, on why there's a massive divide in this country. And personally, as a teacher, this honest to God does not surprise me whatsoever, both in public and private school systems, of which both I've worked in. Students don't stand up for the flag generally in the public school system. They'll have their hands in their pockets. They don't put it over their heart anymore. They can care less. And why do they do this? Oh, upon me asking them, because they believe America is institutionally racist, that they held people down. So you'll specifically see mostly minorities not standing for the flag anymore. We're talking about black people. We're talking about some Asian people, Hispanics. Usually it was black people and Hispanics that tended to not stand for the American flag when I was a teacher in the public school system. So that's what's happening now. And this is what the destruction is from the Democrat Party and the progressive left, who are teaching these kids that America is racist. And we call this CRT, critical race theory. Very good, folks that are avid listeners of the Bald Brad Show, amongst other Republican news outlets. They've been inculcating these into these children since kindergarten. So when they get to high school at my level, seniors, they don't want to stand for it. Hands in pocket, don't give a two, don't say it out loud, don't do anything. Not surprising this is taking place. On Tuesday night, the Fargo, North Dakota School Board voted 7-2, not even close, to ditch the pledge after board members complained that capitalized God was non-inclusionary. The school board was previously reciting the pledge after it passed a motion on March 22nd to start each meeting with it. So now the meetings just aren't even going to have it either. Given the word God in the text of the Pledge of Allegiance is capitalized, board member Seth Holden said the text is clearly referring to Judeo-Christian God, and therefore it does not include any other faiths such as Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, all of which are practiced by our staff and students at FPS. Really? Literally because the word God is in there, you're not going to stand and support the Pledge of Allegiance, of which you're benefiting from the greatest country that humankind has ever existed. You can't at least stand for the flag of which those that died for this country to allow you to have those freedoms, of which are the right to bear arms and the freedom of speech, which the vast majority of the globe doesn't have. So you're just going to benefit from all those creeds, the pledge, the allegiance itself, the Declaration of Independence, United States Constitution. You can't stand for that because the word God's in there. That's why we wear the hat, folks. We represent our military. We represent the greatest country that God has ever created. God has ever created. Judeo-Christian values created. It wasn't all those other values. It wasn't Islam. It wasn't Hinduism. It wasn't Buddhism that underskirted the values that this country's foundation was built on. It was Judeo-Christian values, folks. I'm not saying that any of those other values that come from Islam, Hinduism, or Buddhism are inherently bad. That is not what we're saying here. But what we are saying is that Judeo-Christian values did build the foundation and the greatest country on earth that God has ever created. And we're using the word God very specifically because it's in the Pledge of Allegiance. And that's why we say it. That's why we support it. That's why we uphold it. That's why we say it all the time in the school system before meetings. But now the progressive left don't even want to do that anymore. Now they're going to take it. You have North Dakota doing this. Who's next? Holden claimed that it violated the aforementioned DEI principles. School board president Tracy Newman suggested instead of the board find a different pledge to recite to foster unity. What are they going to do? The freaking Black Lives Matter pledge that we've heard about? I'm just not sure that reciting the Pledge of Allegiance is a useful way to begin every one of our board meetings. That's because you don't value this country. Let's be honest. That's why you wouldn't want to do it, because you don't value the country. There's a reason why we do the national anthem before every sporting event. But again, the Democrats, progressive left want to do away with it. I would much prefer that we open our meetings with a shared statement of purpose that would bring us all together to do the work of the board. What's that shared purpose, mind you? Well, the board's website states this: education is better where schools are composed of students, teachers, and families drawn from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds, cultures, races, ethnicities, religions, and sexual orientations. What is that sexual orientation? Is that the trans LGBTQ plus stuff that a lot of people don't agree with, that you're going to push in our school systems on kindergartens through third grade specifically, and try to indoctrinate them and help them transition, cut off their penis, cut off their boobs, help them with hormone enhancers, puberty blockers, help them transition, putting freaking Planned Parenthood clinics on school campuses. I have never seen such a wild destruction of our education system in my life. Things have gone so downhill, it's ridiculous. To the extent board member and immigrant Naimal Dai, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, forgive me, stated, "We live in a diverse community and that is what matters. While supporting the move to end saying the pledge, one community member, David Paulson, spoke at the meeting in favor of keeping the pledge. We are misinterpreting the Pledge of Allegiance, Paulson explained. The pledge isn't a shown of our patriotism. It's an affirmation of our commitment and our loyalty to the greater cause, and the greater cause is freedom. The Declaration, okay, folks? The Constitution, the creed, the founding, what this country was built upon. But they don't get it. They don't even believe in that creed. They don't even believe in that foundation. They don't believe in that freedom. They don't believe in freedom of speech. They don't believe in the Second Amendment. The House literally just passed to limit your regulation, your approval of certain semi-automatic firearms. Those are the same people that are raising their hand. I'll uphold the Constitution. I'll do whatever. And they don't do it. In reaction to the story, Ethel Herschel, a candidate for North Dakota state legislature, goodness gracious, sound like Joe Biden and a little bit of Merrick Garland, tweeted, disgusting. The Fargo School Board's decision is an insult to the values of our great country and to everyone who has given their life to defend our liberties. Man, that sounds a lot like what I just said a few minutes ago, does it not, folks? The school board's assertion that the Pledge of Allegiance violates their so-called diversity rule is absurd. I mean, it is. Absurd's not even a good word for it. It is freaking baffling. It's head spinning, and it's this whole diversity thing that's going to split this country in half to where we're not going to get along at all anymore. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.